The stars hung still, silent and endless. Out there, in the far edge of the Orion Arm, the research ship Varion's light drifted like a lonely lantern in an ocean of darkness. Captain Relic sat in his command chair, eyes fixed on the main view screen. The crew had been mapping dust clouds for weeks, their routine broken only by the hum of the engines. It was supposed to be a calm survey mission till the sensors picked up something strange. At first, it appeared as a shadow against the faint glow of a nebula. Too far to be a planet, too large to be a ship. It was just floating slowly, like a piece of night detached from the rest of space. Navigator Telri frowned at her console, tapping the display as if the numbers were lying. "Captain," she said quietly, "the scanners are confused. The object, it's not giving back." "Any clear readings?" Relic leaned forward, not giving or refusing. The question made the crew shift uneasily. The object was massive, at least 200 kilometers across. Its surface looked irregular, almost organic. When the light of a distant star brushed against it, a strange shimmer rippled over its form, like light touching oil on water. Then, without warning, the comms officer stiffened. "Sir, I'm picking up a distress signal. Very weak. It's human." The word human carried weight. The people of Earth had only recently stepped into the greater galaxy, and not all alien species trusted them. Some admired their adaptability. Others thought them reckless. For Relic, humans were a curiosity, bold, unpredictable, and sometimes dangerous. "Locate the source," Relic ordered. The signal came from a small ship adrift, not far from the shadow object. The human vessel looked battered, its hull scored with burns and strange claw-like marks. Emergency beacons blinked faintly, like the heartbeat of a dying creature. Relic's crew exchanged glances. This was a dangerous area to perform rescue, especially with the unidentified mass looming nearby, but Relic was not the kind to leave a ship to die without trying. "Bring us closer," he said. Shields at full. As they approached, the silence in the bridge deepened. The floating shadow stayed still, but it felt like it was watching them. Docking with the human vessel was slow work. The airlock cycled, and a thin wisp of smoke curled into the alien ship. The boarding team stepped inside cautiously. The human crew was in bad shape, burn marks on their suits, eyes tired but alert. The leader, a woman with sharp features and streaks of gray in her hair, stood as the aliens entered. "I'm Commander Sarah Holt," she said. Her voice was hoarse but steady. "You shouldn't be here." Relic tilted his head. "We detected your distress signal. Your ship needs repair, and there is an unknown object nearby." Sarah's gaze shifted to the viewport. "Even damaged." She carried a presence that made the alien officers pause. "That's not just an object," she said. "It's alive." The words hung in the air. "It's been following us for 3 days," Sarah continued. "It doesn't move much. It waits, watches, and when it decides to, it strikes." The alien medic checked her vitals, but she waved them off. Relic studied her closely. "If it's alive, why haven't our scans identified it?" "Because it doesn't want you to," she replied simply. The bridge crew back on Varion's light listened in on the open channel. Some muttered about superstition. Others stared at the growing image of the massive shape on their displays. "Captain," came Telri's voice over comms, "you should see this. The object. It just emitted a faint energy pulse. It's very controlled." Relic returned to the bridge, Sarah following despite her injuries. The pulse data was strange, like a heartbeat, low and deliberate. Then the view screen flickered. For a split second, every light on the ship dimmed. "Just like before," Sarah said quietly. "That's how it starts." Relic turned to her. "Before?" Her expression hardened. 40 years ago, on the edge of human space, something like this appeared. We called it the Devourer. It destroyed an entire colony. No warning, no negotiation. Just silence, then death. The crew exchanged uneasy looks. To them it sounded like a ghost story, but the human commander spoke with a certainty that made the air feel heavier. "Why didn't your people warn the galaxy?" Relic asked. Sarah gave a short, humorless laugh. We tried. No one listened. We had no proof. Only survivors with haunted eyes. Another pulse came from the massive shadow. This time the Varyon's light's hull vibrated slightly, a deep, almost living tremor. The entity had not moved closer, but it no longer felt distant. It felt near, watching. Relic's second officer whispered, "It's like it knows we're talking about it." Sarah's eyes never left the view screen. "Does?" The captain straightened. "Helm, prepare to move us to a safer distance." "Too late," Sarah said. Her voice was flat, but her hands clenched. "If it's decided, you're interesting. It won't let you leave easily." And as if to prove her right, the floating mass began to change. The shimmer on its surface deepened into lines, long, glowing cracks of blue light. They spread slowly, like veins under skin, revealing patterns that seemed almost deliberate. The crew stared in silence, caught between awe and dread. In the stillness of the bridge, Relic realized something chilling. The cracks formed shapes that almost looked like eyes. The docking clamps released with a faint metallic thud, and the Varyon's light and the battered human ship drifted together in silent orbit. Captain Relic allowed Commander Sarah Holt to step fully onto his bridge, her boots making a sharp sound on the polished deck. She looked worn, her uniform scorched in places, but her posture was unshaken. Her eyes went immediately to the massive shape hanging in the void ahead. It had not moved since the last pulse. It still floated there, as though the laws of physics had no authority over it. The blue cracks along its surface dimmed and brightened in slow rhythm, like the breathing of some enormous sleeping beast. "This thing," Sarah began without ceremony, "is not a random encounter. You need to understand that before you make any decisions." Relic's crew watched her carefully. The navigator Telri crossed her arms, skeptical. "We have seen space creatures before. Large ones, dangerous ones. But they don't hide from sensors." Sarah didn't look away from the view. "That's because this isn't an animal, it thinks. It plans." The words unsettled the bridge, more than any roar or threat could have. The devourer did not look like it had thoughts. Yet there was something in the measured way it hung there, in how its light seemed to pulse in time with their ship's power systems, that made the idea difficult to dismiss. The comms officer interrupted, his voice tense. "Captain, we are getting a message from the human ship's main computer. It's heavily damaged, but it still has stored files. The signal is encrypted." Sarah turned to Relic. "I'll unlock them. You'll want to see the footage." Within moments, the main screen flickered, showing a recording from inside the human vessel. The image was shaky, the camera mounted on someone's shoulder as they moved through a dimly lit corridor. Sirens wailed in the background. The footage turned toward a viewport, and for a brief moment, the shadow filled the frame's surface. Crawling with blue light, tendrils of energy reaching out like slow lightning. Then came the sound. It was not a noise the ears could fully process, more like a vibration inside the bones. A deep hum that seemed to press against the chest. The camera view tilted violently, showing crew members falling to the floor, clutching their heads. Systems sparked. Lights died. The recording ended abruptly. On the bridge, no one spoke for a long moment. "Finally," Relic said. "That was 3 days ago?" "Yes," Sarah replied. "Since then it has followed us. Does not strike immediately. It waits until you think you're safe. Then it moves. It tore apart our sister ship in less than a minute. No debris worth recovering." The alien crew exchanged uneasy glances. This was not how predators usually behaved. This was patient, intentional. "Why you?" Relic asked. "Why follow your vessel?" Sarah's expression was unreadable. "Because we ran from it once before," he remembers. Relic studied her face, looking for exaggeration or deceit, but found none. "You believe it?" "Holds grudges." "I believe it understands enough to choose targets," she said. Another pulse rippled through space, faint but unmistakable. The Varyon's lights consoles flickered briefly again. This time, the entity's glow did not fade back to darkness, it stayed. The blue veins across its surface now brighter, sharper. The science officer swallowed hard. "Captain, it's moving." The massive shape began to turn, not drifting. Randomly, but aligning itself, slowly but deliberately, toward the two ships. Its motion was silent, graceful, and horribly inevitable. Sarah stepped closer to the view screen. You still have time to leave, but if you stay... Warning, hang in the air. Relic's eyes narrowed. If I leave, you die. That's not an option. Her lips curved in the faintest ghost of a smile. And I suggest we talk about how humans survive encounters with it. Because this thing, she pointed at the looming figure in the dark, stop until it gets what it wants. A low tremor ran through the deck plates as the entity inched closer. And for the first time, Relic thought he could feel, not just imagine, but feel its attention on them. It's like a shadow pressing against the glass of their reality. The Devourer moved without haste, its colossal form gliding through the void as if space itself were yielding to its will. On the bridge of the Varion's light, every pair of eyes stayed fixed on the looming shape. Even the steady hum of the ship's system seemed quieter, as though the machinery feared to make noise in its presence. It did not come straight for them. Instead, its path curved ever so slightly toward a small, drifting structure in the distance, on abandoned refueling station from the looks of it, barely the size of a freighter. It floated dark and lifeless, forgotten in the emptiness. At first, the alien crew felt a faint relief. If the thing was distracted, perhaps they could slip away. But Sarah shook her head. It's not hungry. It's showing you. Relic glanced at her. Showing us what? You'll see, she said, her tone low. On the view screen, the Devourer slowed until it hung beside the station, dwarfing it, utterly. Then, a pulse of light rolled across its surface, deeper and brighter than before. Without touching it physically, the massive being reached out, and streams of blue energy lanced forward. Spider webbing around the station, the moment the energy touched metal, the station began to come apart. Not in an explosion, not even with visible force. It simply unraveled. Beams bent, panels crumbled, lights flickered once and died, whole structure dissolved into a drifting cloud of fragments, scattering like dust in the dark. The Varion's light science officer whispered, "It dismantled it, molecule by molecule." Sarah's eyes stayed locked on the view screen. It just learned something from doing that. Every time it strikes, it learns. Relic's jaw tightened. The destruction had been silent, almost elegant. No chaos, no debris field to investigate, just nothing. If it could do that to a station in seconds, there would be no defense against it. The comms officer broke the tense silence. "Captain, that pulse it released, it was targeted, not random. I think it scanned the station before it destroyed it." Telri, the navigator, muttered, like it's cataloging everything it finds. Another pulse rippled outward, but this one was different. The ship's consoles dimmed, but only for a moment. Then a faint static hiss filled the bridge's audio systems. "Is that interference?" Relic asked. Sarah's hand went to her earpiece. Her voice was tight. "No. Listen carefully." The static shifted, and underneath it, faint and broken, came a sound almost like a voice. Not words, just tones. Rising and falling, deliberate. "A pattern it's trying to communicate?" Telri asked, though her voice carried no excitement, only unease. Sarah didn't take her eyes off the screen. Not to talk. To Marcus. The Devourer finished with the station, and with glacial slowness, turned its immense form back toward the two ships. The blue veins across its surface pulsed faster now, brighter, like some giant heart picking up speed. Relic gripped the arm of his chair. "Helm, bring us to 1/4 speed. Put some distance between us." The helm officer's voice was tight. "Captain, it's matching our movement." "Exactly." On the display, the distance between them never changed. Every slight adjustment the Varion's light made was mirrored perfectly by the vast shadow. It was playing with them. Sarah spoke quietly, almost to herself. "This is what it does. Lets you know you can't run. It makes you understand." The alien crew sat frozen, their earlier skepticism replaced by a quiet, creeping dread. The Devourer wasn't just hunting. was choosing how the game would be played. Relic's eyes flicked to Sarah. You said humans have faced it before then? Tell me what happens next. Her gaze was fixed on the glowing lines that pulsed, brighter with every passing moment. Next, she said, her voice flat. It starts the hunt for real. And as if her words had summoned it, the Devourer's glow surged so bright, it washed out the stars behind it. The glow faded just enough for the stars to return. The image on the bridge's main screen burned in every mind the Devourer. Vast and silent, hovering as if deciding when to strike. No one spoke for several long seconds. Even the hum of the Varion's light felt too loud in the oppressive stillness. Relic turned to Ward. Sarah, you said humans have seen this before? I want the full story. Now. Her jaw tightened, but she didn't argue. Passed across the bridge to the auxiliary console, her boots ringing against the deck. With a few quick taps, she brought up a grainy Amiga, human colony world, lush and green, orbiting a warm yellow sun. 40 years ago, this was EOS 3, she began. Population, 200,000. Thriving settlement. Families, schools, gardens. One morning a shadow appeared in the sky. No warning. No demands. The image shifted to show a massive, dark shape against the planet's clouds. Its sheer size dwarfed the landscape beneath. At first they thought it was an asteroid or a rogue station. But within an hour, the pulses began. Power grids failed. Communications died. Ships couldn't leave orbit. Then she stopped, her eyes fixed on the screen. It began dismantling the cities. Slowly, methodically, like it was studying. Them. One of Relic's officers frowned. You're telling me it destroyed the colony? Piece by piece. Sarah nodded once. It didn't just kill people, it erased them. Every building, every machine, even the roads gone. And anyone who tried to run was cut apart mid-flight, not exploded, taken apart. Everything it learns from. What it destroys, learns how to do it faster. The science officer shifted uncomfortably. If that's true, then it's been learning for 40 years since your last encounter. It has, Sarah said simply. Relic folded his arms. Out. And how did anyone survive? Sarah's expression darkened.
Out.
One freighter, half full of civilians, managed to break orbit before the final pulse. We think the Devourer let them go, like it wanted a witness. The bridge fell silent again. The thought was almost worse than total destruction, the idea that the thing wanted survivors, that it wanted the story to spread. Relic studied her. And you? You were on that freighter? She met his gaze without flinching. Yes, I was 17. I watched the whole thing from the viewport. That explained the weight in her voice, the way she seemed to know exactly what was coming. The comms officer's voice broke into the tense quiet. Captain. Long-range sensors show the Devourer's energy readings increasing again. It's powering something. Sarah didn't even look at the console. It's preparing to make a move. The lights on the creature's surface brightened to a near-blinding intensity. Blue arcs of energy rippled across its body, and for a moment, the crew could see intricate patterns in the glow symbols. Odd. Or maybe circuitry, etched into its colossal form. Tell her I leaned forward in her chair. Is it broadcasting? No, Sarah said. It's locking onto us. The glow shifted, condensing into a single point on the Devourer's surface. Then a narrow beam of light shot outward, not toward the Varion's light, but toward the drifting human ship they had rescued. The beam struck the hull, and instantly, metal plates began peeling away in strips. The ship didn't explode. Simply fell apart under invisible hands. Crew members on the bridge gasped. The destruction was clean, almost surgical. Within 30 seconds, the human vessel was reduced to floating fragments. Sarah's voice was steady, but her knuckles were. White on the console? That's its warning. Next, it will come for us. Relic's voice was calm, but his eyes were hard. Then we'll be ready. I'll plot an evasive course. Weapons standby, all systems hot. Sarah looked at him sharply. You can't. Fight it like you fight a ship. You'll have to think like it does. Relic allowed himself the smallest of grim smiles. Then we'll just have to learn as fast as it does. The The Devourer turned toward them, blue light crawling across its form like veins of fire. The hunt was about to begin. The first jolt came as a faint tremor through the deck, barely enough to make the bridge lights sway, but Sarah knew better. She gripped the back of the captain's chair and said in a low voice, "That's not turbulence. That's it. Moving." The Varion's light sensors confirmed it a second later. The Devourer was gliding forward, each shift of its massive form impossibly smooth, like the void itself was carrying it toward them. The distance between predator and prey began to shrink slowly, but with a sense of certainty that was far. "More terrifying than speed, helm," Relic ordered, his voice sharp, full burn, Vector 347. "Keep us angled away from that thing." Engines roared to life, and the ship leaped forward. Stars streaked across the view screen. But almost instantly, the science officer's voice cut through the tension. "Captain, it's matching our trajectory. Velocity, locked 2 hours." Relic's mandibles clicked in irritation. "It's toying with us." Sarah stepped beside him, calm but tense. "It's not plain, it's testing our response times. Every course change, every boost." Watching and learning, the Devourer's blue cracks pulsed brighter with each moment of pursuit. Then a ripple of energy spread across its surface, and the space around it began to distort light, bending at the edges of its colossal body. "Graviton signature detected," the navigator shouted. Sarah swore under her breath. "It's trying to pull us toward it." Relic's hands flew over his console, countered with lateral thrusters now. The Variant's light shuddered violently as the pilot fought the gravitational pull. Hull plates groaned under the stress, warning lights flashing red across the bridge. Through the forward viewport, the Devourer loomed larger, impossibly close. Now, as if the distance between them was nothing more than an illusion, it'd break at will. Relic slammed a clawed hand down on the comms panel. "Engineering. Divert all auxiliary power to engines." "I don't care if the labs go dark. Get us moving, Captain," Sarah said, her voice urgent but controlled. "We can't just run forever. It will tire us out before it even starts. To feel strain, we need to make it follow our path." Relic's eyes flicked to her. "You have something in mind?" She nodded. "We carry experimental tech graviton flares. They're designed to simulate ship mass signatures, pull an enemy. Targeting systems? If we drop them in the right pattern, we can trick it into following a false trail." The captain considered for less than a second. "Do it." Sarah moved to the weapons station, her fingers flying over the unfamiliar alien controls. The first flare deployed a tiny sphere of condensed graviton energy bursting into life behind them. Its pull distorted nearby starlight. A bright wound in the void. Almost instantly, the Devourer shifted course not toward the Varion's light, but toward the flare. The alien crew let out a collective breath, but the relief lasted only seconds. The Devourer didn't slow. When it reached the flare, it absorbed it. The blue lines across its surface flared brighter than ever, as though it had swallowed the trick hole and enjoyed it. Sarah's face hardened. "It's adapting faster than I thought." The ship's warning klaxons blared. The Devourer was turning back toward them faster this time. "Much faster, Helm," Relic barked. "New course dense asteroid field, bearing 219. Navigator's eyes widened. "That field will tear us apart if we hit it at this speed." "That's the point," Relic said grimly. "If it wants to follow us in, it'll risk the same." The ship surged forward, angling toward the dark. A cluster of tumbling rock ahead. Behind them, the Devourer kept pace, its glowing lines flickering in patterns no one could decipher. As the first massive asteroid filled the viewport, Sarah gripped the console. "You're about to see how humans fly when we're being hunted." Varion's light plunged into the field, engines howling, debris spinning past in blurs of shadow and light. And behind them, the Devourer followed without hesitation, sliding through the chaos as though the rocks weren't even there. The asteroid field swallowed them whole. Shadows streaked past the Varion's light, jagged boulders spinning in slow, deadly arcs. Every few seconds, a rock the size of a city block loomed in the viewport, forcing the pilot to roll the ship hard to one side. Al groaned as fragments scraped against the shields. Blue sparks of deflected energy flashing like lightning in the dark. The crew clung to their stations, fingers tight on straps and rails. The bridge lights flickered under the strain of constant maneuvering. Asteroid coming starboard. The navigator shouted. The pilot yanked the controls. The Varion's light skimmed so close to the tumbling rock that its surface filled the entire viewport for a heartbeat. Sarah stood beside the helm, eyes darting between the radar and the Devourer's position. It's still following. It doesn't even slow down. Relec's gaze was locked on the aft display. There in the shifting darkness, the Devourer moved like a predator weaving through coral, never colliding, never even brushing the asteroids. Each glowing crack along its body shimmered with precise timing, pulsing just before an asteroid shifted course away from it. The science officer's voice trembled. Captain, the rocks are moving for it. As if to prove the point, a massive asteroid in the Devourer's path veered slightly, drifting aside as though obeying an unseen command. It didn't just navigate the field, it controlled it. Then came the first hit. A smaller fragment, maybe 5 meters across, slammed into the Varion's light's portside shields. The impact rattled the bridge and threw 2 officers from their chairs. The medic rushed to help as sparks rained from a blown console. Shields at 63%, tactical officer reported. We can't keep this up, Sarah warned. It's hurting us. Relic turned sharply. Explain. It's pushing us deeper into the field, forcing us into tighter spaces. The more we have to turn and slow, the easier we are to catch. The Devourer proved her point almost immediately. Its glow intensified, and a wave of blue energy rippled outward, slamming into a cluster of asteroids ahead of them. The rocks shifted, spinning into a chaotic spiral that blocked every path forward except one straight toward a narrow canyon between 2 huge rotating masses. That's a trap, Sarah said flatly. Relic's mandibles clicked. Tsk. That or be crushed here. The pilot pushed the engines to maximum, threading the ship between the walls of spinning rock. The sound of scraping stone vibrated through the hull, but they made it through barely. Then the Devourer entered the canyon behind them, its glow filling the narrow space. The blue light washed over the Varion's light, making every shadow stretch long and thin. Sarah's fingers tightened on the edge of the console. It's going to use the walls against us. Can't outfly it here. Relic didn't answer. Right away. His eyes scanned the sensor readouts, then the asteroid maps, his mind moving fast. Engineering prepared to dump all remaining graviton flares at once. Weapons arm every mine we have. Sarah looked at him, startled. You're going to collapse the canyon? Relic gave a sharp nod. If we can't outrun it, we bury it. The crew worked furiously. The ship's underbelly released the last of its graviton flares, scattering them in a tight pattern along the canyon walls. The Devourer surged forward, its attention fixed entirely on the fleeing vessel until the mines detonated. A chain of explosions ripped through the rock, sending fragments the size of towers crashing down. The canyon shuddered, walls breaking. Loose and tumbling inward, for a moment the Devourer vanished behind the cloud of stone and dust. The bridge went silent except for the hiss of the air filters. Do you think it worked? Telri asked. Sarah didn't answer. Her eyes were on the aft display. Slowly, shapes began to move in the debris cloud. Large shapes. The dust parted, and the Devourer emerged, its surface scraped in places, but otherwise untouched. The blue glow flared again, brighter than before. And now it was faster. The Devourer closed the gap like the asteroid field no longer existed. Chunks of rock the size of cities drifted harmlessly aside for it, sliding away as if space itself feared to touch it. On the Varion's Lights bridge, alarms screamed, and the red emergency lights bathed every face in a sickly glow. Relic gripped the arms of his chair, full thrust, all power to engines. The pilot's voice cracked as she replied. Already at maximum, Captain. It's still gaining.
Hey, Sarah.
Didn't look at the controls. Her eyes were locked on the immense glowing form filling the aft display. It won't stop now. You've seen enough to know that. Relic's mandibles clicked. Then tell me how your people survived last time without running. She turned to him, her voice low but steady. We didn't. We lost the colony. The only reason anyone made it out was because the Devourer wasn't ready to chase beyond orbit. That's not an option this time, Relic said flatly. No, it isn't. She stepped closer to the central console and brought up a schematic of the ship's fusion core. We can overload it. The crew froze. The hum of the engine suddenly felt louder in the silence that followed. Overload the fusion core, Telri repeated, her voice sharp with disbelief. That's suicide. Sarah didn't flinch. The Devourer's energy field is vulnerable when it absorbs mass. If we eject the core and detonate it inside that field, the energy feedback could cripple it, maybe even destroy it. But we'd have to let it take us in close enough to draw it around the core. Relic's eyes narrowed. Close enough too. Be within its reach. Yes. Sarah's gaze was unyielding. If it works, the galaxy gets a chance. If it doesn't, we're gone, and it moves on to the next world. The bridge was silent for several heartbeats. Outside the asteroid, a field began to thin, and beyond it stretched the open void, except for the Devourer closing in like a living eclipse. The medic spoke up, voice tight. Even if we eject the core, there won't be enough time to escape the blast radius. Sarah met Relic's eyes. I wasn't planning to escape. The alien captain stared at her, reading the calm certainty in her face. Wasn't bluffing. She was ready to die if it meant stopping this thing. His mandibles twitched once in thought. No, he said at last. That isn't how this ends. Before Sarah could reply, he turned to the comms officer. Prepare emergency transport lock on all human crew. If the plan fails, at least some will survive to warn others. You can't, Sarah began, but Relic cut her off. This is my ship. My crew, if anyone stays behind to make sure that core detonates, it will be us. The deck shuddered as the Devourer's latest pulse washed over them, draining the shields another 10%. The blue glow ahead of the ship flared brighter, its vast form drawing close enough that details became visible towers and ridges rising from its surface like the spines of a great beast. Sarah's voice was quiet. Now, then you'd better hope this works, because if it doesn't, she'll let the rest hang in the air. Relic didn't look away from the viewport. Then there won't be anyone left to regret it. The Devourer's light swelled until it filled the bridge, casting long, thin shadows over every surface. The moment to act had come. The Devourer's glow swallowed the stars. Every inch of the Varion's Light's bridge was bathed in cold blue light, and the crew felt it in their bones, a deep, slow vibration. Like the heartbeat of something ancient and hungry. Engineering, Relic said. His voice steady despite the rising tension, prepared the fusion core for emergency ejection. All. Safety locks off. The reply came back tense. Core is primed, Captain. Once it's out, we'll have less than 90 seconds before overload. Sarah's eyes stayed fixed on the aft display, watching the Devourer loom closer. Its glowing lines rippling in strange, almost deliberate patterns. It's expecting us to run, she murmured. Relic gave the order, eject the core. Deep in the ship's belly, clamps released with a metallic boom, and the glowing heart of the Varian's light drifted into the void, spinning slowly. For a heartbeat, the Devourer didn't react. Then, as if drawn by instinct, it turned. Its massive body curved toward the drifting core, blue cracks brightening to a near-blinding glare. It's taking the bait, Telri said, her voice a whisper. The alien ship sensors showed the core being enveloped in the Devourer's energy field. The creature slowed, surrounding the core in a cocoon of light, pulling it deeper into itself. Charge building, the science officer reported. 70%. 80. Relic tapped the comms panel. Transport now. A wave of light shimmered through the bridge as Sarah and her surviving crew vanished. Beamed to the emergency pods waiting in the hangar. They would have only seconds to launch before the blast. Core at 95%, came the call. The Devourer's glow was almost painful to look at now. Through the viewport, it was like staring into the heart of a blue sun. Relic stood. At the center of the bridge, watching the timer on the console. His crew didn't need to be told what would happen next. 99%. The explosion came without sound, just an expanding sphere of white-blue light that swallowed the devourer whole. For a blinding instant, the asteroid fragments and distant stars vanished in the glare. The Varyon's light rocked violently, shield straining against the shockwave. When the light faded, the massive shadow was gone. Only drifting dust and the fading echoes of the energy pulse remained. The comms officer broke the silence. Sensors show. Nothing. It's gone, Captain. Relic didn't answer right away. His eyes stayed on the empty patch of space, where the Devourer had been in the hangar bay. Humans' escape pods detached and began their slow drift toward the nearest safe system. Sarah's voice came through the comms steady, but low. If it was truly gone, you'd feel it. That thing doesn't die easy. Relic's mandibles twitched. Then we'll be ready when it comes back. Far beyond their sensors, deep in the cold silence of uncharted space, a faint blue flicker appeared in the dark like the echo of a heartbeat that refused to stop. It pulsed once, then again, and was gone. The hunt was not over.